Selina has lost 48 pounds through the Slim on Starch program in the course of our work together. Before we started working together, she was already vegan and eating a whole foods plant-based diet and extremely active with her job, doing upwards of 20,000 steps a day, but still wasn't releasing the weight. What was going wrong? Let's find out. Hello my honeys, it's Emmie. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Emmie. I'm a nutritionist and the creator of the Slim on Starch program. If you want to work with me as well as a mindset coach and a nutrition coach, go to healthyemmie.org. I also want to give a shout out to Selina's coaches, her nutrition coach Beth and her mindset coach Serena. Our head mindset coach Kiki, every time I put up a client interview, asks who are her coaches, and so I wanted to give them a shout out as well. So I worked alongside these coaches to help Selina get the results that she attained. Now let's meet Selina. All right, Selina, so where does your story begin?
Like most people that I've learned through watching your videos and just kind of seeing and hearing about testimonials, it started when I was a kid. I was always the kind of overweight, eating the standard American diet. And I started my first diet, which was drinking Slim Fasts in the morning when I was around 11 or 12 years old. And it didn't work, despite the fact that I was a really active teenager and did a lot. I was just always overweight. And so I had actually a lot of success in my early 20s. I got to the point where I had weighed myself and I was close to 200 pounds at 19 years old and didn't like it. So I went to my doctor and said, I don't want to be this. I want to lose weight. I want to get healthy. What can I do? And the doctor recommended joining Weight Watchers and then working out 5 days a week for an hour. And so that's what I did. And I had to adjust as I went along, but I actually lost a significant amount of weight. I went from 197 pounds all the way down to 135. But 10 years later, I found myself in the same place. Even during that 10 years, I was noticing that my weight was increasing and slowly increasing. And so I tried to do what I could, do a new diet, work out more, try whatever I could to keep my weight down, but it just slowly crept up over the years. It was really frustrating. So before joining your program, I found myself at that, 197 pounds. And I was really concerned because I was worried about my health. I knew that carrying around this amount of weight was not good for my body, was not allowing my body to function at the best that it could, that it was routing energy to something that I didn't want it to route energy to. And so I decided I needed to make a change, but I wanted to make a change that would be sustainable and also the healthiest, that would allow me to live life the best way that I could and to the fullest for the longest amount of time possible.
I remember too, Selina, this was very difficult for you to be in the position that you were in when we first talked because you are so physically active and you're a very strong person and you had a very physically demanding job. So what was that like to be so active and to still be struggling with your weight?
It felt very uncomfortable because I did have a very physically demanding job. I was working outside, lifting, moving heavy things, walking. I would walk over 20,000 steps a day in, desert weather. And I also would work out and do hobbies like dance and everything. And it was really uncomfortable just on every level because here I am really active. I should feel really good. I shouldn't feel the way and I shouldn't look that way. It felt uncomfortable and I felt like I didn't belong because here I am doing this, but I look like this. And I didn't like that.
I know as well, Selina, you had a friend who was whole foods plant-based that was telling you about this lifestyle and you had tried going vegan, but it didn't work out so well. Can you tell us what happened when you first went vegan?
Yeah, I had slowly transitioned to a vegan lifestyle a while ago, years ago. I decided I wanted to kind of make that change and see what happened because I could see the evidence in front of me. I knew quite a few people who ate whole food plant-based and just seeing how they felt and how they looked and how they just enjoyed life. And so I tried it. I slowly would replace things that you could, like eggs and cheese. And it was going okay. And then I decided to make the full change. No animal products, no, just all the stuff that goes with being a vegan. And I actually gained weight. And that was very deflating because what? How could I have gained more weight? That was so disappointing. And then I just kind of thought, what am I doing wrong? And so I also, because I did it kind of in a different way where I just kind of went about it very, we're going to try it and see, without any support or knowledge or education on how to do it properly. And so I also had physical things that happened as well. I was fatigued. I would get dizzy. I would get lightheaded when I stood up. And so I kind of said, I got to have meat because it's the protein and I got to have protein. So I have to incorporate meat now, even though I don't like it. And what kind of changed for me was when I suffered an injury at work. And so I had a lot of downtime at home. And I love to read. And so I was visiting with my friend who eats whole food plant-based and is just a lovely, lovely person. And I expressed to her how I was just confused because what I see and what I hear is not what I'm experiencing. And I want that, but I don't know where to go or what to do. So what I want to do is get rid of all the confusion. And I just want to know what is the healthiest way that is supported by evidence-based nutrition. And my friend recommended that I read How Not to Die by Dr. Greger. And he actually had just released his How Not to Diet book. And I read that whole book in like 2 weeks. I could not put it down. And after reading the evidence and then just getting introduced into this whole new world of evidence-based nutrition, I did figure out how to go about it and started eating whole food plant-based and started to feel good and started to see results, but I wasn't losing weight. So I was still a little concerned because, again, I wanted to get rid of that unhealthy excess weight. And so once again, my friend expressed to her my frustrations and she was asking me how it's going. And she said, I know of a program where it's plant-based weight loss and it's really awesome coaching and one-on-one, and you might want to check it out. And it's called Healthy Emmie. So then I looked you up and I applied to work with you.
And I'm so happy that you did. And I remember on our call and also in your application, you had written, I've been eating whole foods plant-based the right way after watching Dr. Greger for months now. It was November 2020 that you started doing whole foods plant-based the right way, as you said. And then we got on the phone, maybe it was around March of 2021, sometime around then. So you said to me, Emmie, I really am doing this the right way. Maybe I have a beer every so often, but I really am doing whole foods plant-based and really sticking to it. And then once we got together, do you want to show off and say how much weight you ended up releasing?
Yes. So this week I have released 48 pounds since we started working together, like February, March.
That's remarkable, truly remarkable. So now we got to dig into how that happened and what changed from what you were doing before we started talking and through the course of the program. So would you like to walk us through what the beginning looked like and the changes that you started to make?
Before I would, drink beer and wasn't like sticking to what the program was. So once we got started, I immediately saw results pretty quickly and my body just released it. I think it took maybe a week.
Hey, if you are liking this video, please give it a like and make sure to hit the subscribe button. It really supports my channel.
Like the first week I didn't really lose anything and the second week didn't really lose anything, and then kind of learning, you had prepared me for that, as you do with this is why, and don't worry, just trust the process. And so I then started seeing a release of weight and feeling really, really excited and really happy with it. And generally overall, when you look at the whole thing, it actually has been pretty smooth and seamless, at least when you look at it physically. I did have some roadblocks, some obstacles that we had to work through. Like when I hit my first, the first few weeks where I was no longer releasing weight. And that was actually, looking back on it, a really big turning point. And the reason why is because before that, I had been so confused, and I had tried so many programs that where you see immediate results, but then slowly after that, it just doesn't happen anymore. And you get to such a place of, I felt like I was failing. I was failing myself. I wasn't doing something right. My body was broken, or my body just was not going to do this. I was destined to be this way. And I refused to believe that, because I knew my body wanted to be healthy. I knew my body could function and get to that point, but I wasn't getting to that point. And so there was actually one time where I was just so sad and so deflated and so frustrated that I said, this isn't going to work for me. Thanks, but no thanks. Like, we're good. And having the support of you and my nutrition and mindset coach made all the difference, because I remember when we talked on that call, and the one thing that you said that stuck out to me was, we're not your cheerleaders. We're your coaches. Cheerleaders show up on game day, but the coach is with you the entire time. And so we're going to coach you through this. We're going to stick with you. We're not going anywhere. And just hearing that was so beneficial and just a turning point, because often I would go through these programs or do these goals silently without telling people that I was doing this. But having that support was just like, no, I have help. Like, I don't have to do this alone. I can do this with help. I can achieve this goal. And so being able to have that outside perspective, that outside support, really allowed me to push forward. And then it did get better. I started releasing again. And then I did have one more kind of obstacle roadblock where I had to work through it. But I was just thinking about this the other day in preparation for this, of I've lost almost as much as the amount of weight that I did 10 years ago. So like, what's the difference between then and now? How is this time going to be different going forward? Well, one, it's more sustainable. And two, how I feel about myself is different as well, because during the course of our work, I was able to work on my body image issues with support and help and suggestions. I was able to feel better about myself. I was able to accept and know that what I wanted to attain was attainable and how to get there. So the mindset is different between then and now, and how I feel about myself is different. And I also feel empowered and supported. I have access to the information. I know how to get there. I know how going forward I can make the choices and what those choices mean and the consequences of those choices. So it's very empowering and supportive now, compared to like previously.
You had said in your first mindset journal, there was a question that kept running through your mind, and it was an intrusive thought, intrusive question, which was, am I going to be fat forever? Am I going to be fat forever? Am I going to be fat forever? What would you tell that version of Selina at that time, now being on the other side?
No. One, I would say no, stop saying that. And two, I would probably say, don't bully yourself. Like, you're bullying yourself. You're not being kind to yourself. And you can choose, like, just like you're kind of choosing to, because of messages and everything, that is something that is in your brain, but you can choose to feel good. You can choose to make these healthy choices, and you will see the results of that, but you just got to follow it through. You're not going to be fat forever, and stop bullying this person, because that's just unhealthy and that's not good. And it's not loving yourself. And it's really important to love yourself.
I have so many things to say. The first is, I'm so with you, Selina. The first is, Am I going to be fat forever? You are not fat. You were not fat. You were Selina. You had excess fat on your body temporarily. So understanding that the excess fat on your body is not who you are. The second thing is understanding, like you said, you have the power to let go of these thoughts. Thoughts are like balloons. You can choose to let go. Another thing is, how is that serving you? Paying attention to that question, am I going to be fat forever? Am I going to be fat forever? Am I going to be fat forever? What good is that doing? It's not doing any good. And also fact checking these thoughts. A lot of times we take our thoughts as fact, no matter what the fact is, or the thought is, and we have to consider, is this a true thought? Is this thought helping me? I'm going to be fat forever. Is that true? Do we have evidence for that? And we don't, because we don't have a crystal ball. So I'm so glad that you kept going. Another thing that you noted was us being your coaches and not your cheerleaders, and understanding that that's why we're here. A lot of people, when things start to get tough or they start to struggle, will shy away. And I go, that's why we're here. I wouldn't have a job if you didn't need help. You're supposed to struggle. It's totally normal, and it's a part of the growth process.
And it's great too. And being able to, and this was something for me, just, I grew up where you kind of don't ask for help. You should be able to do everything, and asking for help is a sign of weakness. And so that was a learning experience personally for me, was just knowing that the world is full of support and the world is full of help. And you just, one, know where to find it, and two, most importantly, ask for it, and know that it's okay to ask for it. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger. There is a community out there for you. There is support out there for you. And it's okay to tap into that, because if people will provide it, you just have to ask for it, which is hard in and of itself. But once you learn how to do it and you get the reward of that, you want to help others. And it just, it's kind of a pay it forward situation too.
I am a recovered not ask for helper. I'm now like addicted to asking for help, because it's incredible what you can. And humans are social animals. We're supposed to do things together. We're not supposed to do things alone. And once you start to get help and you go, whoa, look what happens when I ask for help. Look at all that I can accomplish and we can accomplish together. So great little talk there. Do you mind if we talk about some other things that you went through during the program that I know other people struggle with and that you were able to work through?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. One of the things was, you said you would eat and then 2 hours later you'd be hungry, and you'd eat again and then 2 hours later you'd be hungry. Can you speak to that a bit?
Looking back on it now, there was, I think, a learning period for my body, and then also reconnecting with my body. So I had always, during the confusion of trying to diet and shed fat and gain muscle and all of this, that I would already eat every 2 hours or so, and I would eat a very specific meal, and it would have to be this portion size. And so I would eat, and even looking back on it, then I wasn't even really hungry during those times. And then when I started the program, I remember thinking like, it's so weird, because I would eat a meal and I would eat to satiety, but then a couple hours later, I would be super hungry again. And I just didn't know if it was my metabolism like ramping up, if it was because I was at work and really, really busy. But being able to learn through the program, the hunger and fullness cues and everything, I found that my body was able to adjust to how I was eating now. And then also I learned that it was digestion. And after I had learned about that, I was kind of like, but hunger and digestion, those are two different things though. Why do they feel so similar? And then I was like, but do you really know what digestion feels like? Like, have you ever given yourself the opportunity to feel what digestion feels like? So I started, as time went on, I would just stop and 2 hours later, just sit there and think like, okay, so what am I feeling right now? Not what do I think, but what am I feeling? Is this hunger or is this digestion? And then just kind of being like, yeah, I'm not too hungry right now. Like, I'm good. I can feel that there's a feeling like hunger, but I don't believe that it's hunger, because I don't really desire food right now.
Beautifully said, Selena. A lot of times we have physical cues that we think are hunger. If people feel tired or they are bored with what they're doing for work and they're starting to feel a little bit fatigued, or if there's digestion going on, automatically there's the assumption that it's hunger when actually it's these other things. It's digestion, it's a need for sleep, it's a need for something more stimulated. It's not always a need for food. And in the past, you may have thought that it was a need for food, but that was a huge growth for you.
Mhm.
Another thing I know that you struggled with and were able to work through and really make huge strides in was wanting to turn to maybe having a beer at the end of the day or food or something to make you feel that stress relief at the end of the day, working a very stressful job, moving, finding a new job. How did
Yeah.
you work through that?
Yes, because I do enjoy beer. I love the culture that comes with beer, not the culture, I'm sorry, the community around craft beer, what goes into making it, all of that, the history behind it. What I would do is just kind of follow that through. So I would be at the end of the day and that thought, oh, I could really just use a beer. I just really want a beer. Or after work, go out and get a beer. And so what I would do is I would ask myself, okay, why do you want a beer? Like, what is it about a beer that you are craving? And just kind of realizing there were a few things. It was being around people, hanging out with my friends was the one thing. Well, you can do that without it, no problem. Drink water. And also, too, I would be really honest with myself. I would say, okay, does this align with your goals? So, does beer align with releasing weight? Well, no, because we know what beer does or any alcohol does in the system. And then I would just say, okay, Selena, so if you have a beer or two, because let's be honest, once you have one, you're going to let yourself have another one. Will that help you to release weight and get healthy? Because you're doing this to get healthy. And then I'd say, no, it won't. And at that point, it would be let's weigh our options here. Do you want to lose weight? Yes, that is my goal right now. This other thing that I want does not align with that. So I am going to say no, and I'm going to do something else, or I'm going to say, I'm going to do a little mind trick to help me kind of get past that urge. Because what I like to do is I like to play little like mind things to help me get through things. So when it comes to stuff like that, I give myself the option, because I find that if I give myself an option, I'm more likely to forego what I want rather than wanting it because I can't have it. So I'll say, you can have this beer. You have the choice to drink this beer. You don't have to. What are you going to do? Because if you do, these are the consequences. So which one are you going to go for? And then when I give myself the choice, say, I'm going to choose not to do that because it doesn't align with what I want right now. And then once I tell myself you can have it, I go, well, I don't want it now. And then I get past it.
Reminding yourself that you always have a choice. And even if the beer is right in front of you, you still have a choice. Even if you've had half of the beer, you still have a choice. Reminding yourself that you are in control and the substance is not in control. Another huge thing that you worked through was moving across the country, being in a living situation where you're living with others that aren't eating SOS, that are eating a standard American diet. Wow, that was a huge environmental shift. And you were doing so well when you were in California, you were in your groove, in your own apartment, and then moving across the country, finding a new job, being in a new location. How did you manage all of that with the program happening as well in your weight loss journey?
Yeah, that was a whirlwind and continues to be a whirlwind. Um, so I moved from San Diego. The plan was to go to Memphis. That fell through. So then I ended up in little nowhere town, Virginia, and that's where I'm at right now. And I wanted to so badly. I wanted to meal prep for the road trip. The problem with that was not having the space nor the Tupperware, to be able to store it and everything. So surprisingly, driving across the country, it was doable. I was able to stick to SOS and whole food plant-based. There were times where I had to kind of find ways to make it work as far as setting up my plate correctly and everything. But we were only on the road for 4 days. So it wasn't something that was a big hindrance. 4 days out of this entire program really isn't that many days. But living in the house where my family member eats the standard American diet, I did well to start off with, and I was able to stick to the program. I found myself that I was kind of snacking here and there with stuff that was left around the house. Luckily, the person that I am living with or staying with right now, I just sat them down and said, hey, I'm, on this program and I'm finding that I'm snacking. Do you think we can find places to put these foods that aren't in front of me just until I can get used to this environment and get myself settled? That person luckily is very supportive and was very open to me to kind of being flexible and adjusting. And now it's not a problem at all. I have my space in the fridge and where I put my foods, and they have their stuff in the fridge where they put their foods. And to me, it's just a no-go zone. It's just, that is not what I eat. That is not aligned with my health. Occasionally, because living in a city or town where there isn't a whole lot of options and things do tend to sneak in. Like, for example, if I were to when I was doing my experiment and I was eating bread, for example, I have to be really, really cautious and look at everything when it comes to buying bread, because milk gets in everything. And I don't process milk very well anymore, and I can feel it physically. It just does not feel good. And so things do sneak in, and I will find out the hard way when they do. So just being able to, but having that hard rule of that doesn't align with what I am doing or with my health, my body is giving me feedback of what is okay and what's not okay. I'm able to stick with it. And I continued releasing weight that entire time during the move. Twice being in this new city and going through a very interesting time in my life. And that probably is the thing that blows my mind, is to look back and see how much weight I've released during that time is really interesting. I even have to look back and be like, whoa, I did that. But I also relied on my team and all that support and everything to kind of get me through some obstacles that were coming up during that time. But what's really cool is I also learned that even though obstacles come up, one, it's not the end of the world. Because there were times where I was like, you guys, I'm sure the end of the world. I remember actually putting in the chat, I just want to go back to where I was like by myself in my nice little bubble and I didn't have to worry about anything. But looking back on it now, I learned how to live in the world, which is important because we do live in the world. And I was able to learn how to live in the world, how I can be successful and how I can be supported and have a community, but also how I'm able to do it myself.
I'm so glad that, we shook it up as much as we possibly could. You move across the country, a different job, a different place that you're living, and you still were able to release weight, which means now you have evidence that if you can do it during that, you can do it during anything. And just because it's difficult doesn't mean that it's impossible. And it was difficult, but you did it and you grew so much from it. What advice do you have for individuals that heard you say that you sat down with one of your family members and told them about the way that you're eating? There are a lot of people that are in a very similar situation that are afraid to have that conversation. So what advice do you have for them?
Conversations like that are always so intimidating, right? Because you're thinking from your perspective, there's this vulnerability, there's this possible rejection, or, you're just being really vulnerable. And that's scary. And I was scared to do that. Part of me did want to just, don't say anything because you might rock the boat or you might make them feel bad about how they eat. Again, was talking to myself and just saying, okay, but your health is really important. Everybody's health is always should be top priority. Your relationship with yourself should be top priority because you have to live with yourself, and what you say and think and feel about yourself is really, really important. And so I just kind of would was honest with myself and said, you're having these obstacles and you're not reaching your goals. And this is the reason why. We have identified the reason and we know how to get to our goals. And so I just kind of worded it like that, where I just told the person, I'm not able to reach my goals and it's making me feel really frustrated and not good about myself. It would be really helpful and supportive if we could find a way to remove these temptations for me and make it work for me, but you're not getting anything taken away if that's, what you want, and we can both live in harmony and be supportive of each other. That was really, I think, setting up the scene for a supportive, open dialogue was really important. I was really calm and just very objective too. Just, this is the issue. This is how it makes me feel. And here's a solution. Can we do that? I think was really helpful too. I do from time to time with other family members, because the reason why I moved across the country was so I could be closer to my family, which, I'm able to be closer to them and see them more, which means that I'm around them more, which means I'm entering households that don't eat the way that I eat. And so when I was going to visit my grandparents, I actually meal prepped everything and brought my own meals. And then while I was there, they would ask me, can I fix you this? Can I fix you that? And I just told them, I brought my own food because this is how I'm eating. And at one point, my grandmother looked at me and she goes, Selena, I'm just going to have to go and buy a whole bunch of vegetables and fruit for you because I don't want you to have to bring your own food.
Oh.
But like, this is, she said, my sweet old grandmother, she said, I'm having a dilemma with you. And I was just like, don't worry, we'll figure it out together. And she's like, you just tell me what vegetables you want me to buy and what you want me to get, and I'll have it here for you. And you can just use our kitchen, but you don't have to worry about bringing your own food. So you'd be surprised how supportive people will be when you are just kind of not emotional about it and you're just very objective and just, this is how I live and I really like it and I'm happy and I'm going to make you happy and we're all just going to be happy.
You have lost nearly 50 pounds, which is remarkable. How do you feel?
Oh, I feel great. I feel healthy. I feel confident. I feel that all the goals or all the things that I used to want but didn't think I deserved or could attain are attainable. And I do deserve them. And I feel good. I'm happy.
I'm so proud of you. They say that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So now that you've tackled this, you can do anything. And you tackled it when the circumstances, you had everything was stacked against you with this huge cross-country move, and you still did it.
That's crazy. I like to hear you say it. I haven't had anyone say it to me like that, so to hear you say it, it's, if I had heard someone else tell me that story, I would be like, wow.
You lost a quarter of your body weight.
Yeah, that is wild.
And you did it.
Yeah, I did. It's pretty, and right there is if you 8 months ago or even 4 months ago, I wouldn't have been able to celebrate that. I would have been like, well, yeah, but I have to do this, or yeah, but there's still more or something, not just be able to be in the moment of, yeah, I did that. And that's really cool.
Absolutely. We often say, well, I've done this, but I'm not done yet. And once I do that, then I'll be happy. Then I'll celebrate. It's always a delay of celebration, but every pound that you lose is a celebration. Every ounce that you lose, every SOS meal that you eat is a celebration. And you did that consistently for months and months and months. And now you can sit here and say on your interview, yeah, I lost 50 pounds. I did that. So I'm so proud of you, Selena. You have done a tremendous job. And I hope that you're as proud of yourself as I am of you.
Aw, thank you, Emmie. I am very proud, and I'm just I'm also grateful. That's something else too that I've found going through this and making all these changes, is how grateful I am, how I'm able to look at my meals and just enjoy them for what they are, just like the colors and the taste, and how my body and my eyes are just like looking at that meal and saying, yeah, that is awesome. That's nutrition. That's going to give me fuel. That's going to make me feel good. That's going to help me tackle my day, and just being able to be grateful going forward. And I wouldn't have been able to have done that 8 months ago. It was a different story, but now where I'm at, it's a completely different chapter that I'm ready for. Yeah. I just want to say thank you to you for creating this program for what it is, because it's amazing. Thanks to my nutrition coach and my mindset coach, Beth and Serena. Like, just thank you. I'm so grateful. And I'm looking forward to the future, you know?
If you want to get results like Selina, then click the link in the down bar or go to healthyemmie.org, and I can't wait to meet you.